The sharp echo of gravel under tires broke the mountain silence as Ethan's truck rolled to a stop. His eyes narrowed. Right there, across the only bridge leading to his family's cabin, stood a blockade of orange cones, a heavy chain, and a glaring white sign, HOA access restricted. For a second, disbelief froze him. This bridge wasn't just a shortcut, it was the only lifeline to his grandfather's cabin, the same one he had spent summers fishing and stargazing in since childhood. But now, someone had declared it off limits. Someone thought they owned it, and then he spotted her. Linda, the HOA president, standing on the far side of the bridge with her arms crossed, wearing that smug look neighbors had whispered about. "Private road," she called, her voice carrying across the river. "From now on, access requires HOA approval." Ethan stepped out, boots crunching against gravel. The morning mist curled around the wooden rails, giving the bridge an almost cinematic glow. His jaw tightened, but instead of anger, a quiet smile touched his lips. Because Linda had just made a mistake she didn't know yet, this wasn't her bridge to control, it was his. The deed sat safe in his files at home, his family's name etched into county records for decades. But instead of revealing that truth now, Ethan crossed his arms and stared at Linda with calm defiance. If she wanted a battle, she'd get one. And by the time it ended, the HOA would learn a shocking truth about who really owned the only way in. The war for the bridge had just begun. The lake shimmered in the afternoon sun, but Ethan's mood was anything but calm. Driving across after shifting the cones aside, he couldn't shake Linda's smug tone. "Approval? Permission?" On my own bridge, back at the cabin, he poured coffee and pulled out an old folder his father had kept. Inside was the original deed, yellowed by time but strong in ink, parcel of land and bridge maintained by the Marshall family, exclusive rights retained. His grandfather had built it with his own hands, stone by stone, timber by timber. Later that evening, Ethan returned, only to find Linda parked at the bridge again. She waved a folder thick with HOA bylaws like it was a royal decree. "This land is governed by our association. Everyone follows the rules. That means you too." Ethan's lips curved into the faintest smirk. "And what rule covers blocking private property?" Her chin lifted higher. "This is community-managed land." The board voted. "You'll need written approval to cross." He let her words hang in the air, almost amused at her certainty. Every word only deepened the hole she was digging. The crowd of curious neighbors forming nearby only fueled her confidence. "Interesting," Ethan said finally, climbing into his truck. "I'll let the county decide whose vote really counts." For the first time, Linda's smile flickered. But she held her ground, muttering, "We'll see who wins." If only she knew, the decision was already written. Signed, and sealed decades ago. Morning sunlight poured through Ethan's cabin window as he spread the deed across the table. He traced the signature of his grandfather, the man who had built this bridge long before the HOA even existed. Every line was airtight. Every word a shield. His phone buzzed. A message from the HOA, notice of violation. Continued use of restricted access will result in fines. He laughed under his breath. They were fining him to use his own bridge, but instead of rushing to fight, Ethan decided to wait. Each letter, each official notice, would become ammunition. He began stacking them neatly into a folder marked evidence. Soon, the HOA called a community meeting. By the lake, with neighbors gathered in folding chairs. Linda stood at the front, her voice sharp and commanding. "We have a trespasser among us," she announced, gesturing toward Ethan at the back. "This man refuses to follow HOA rules. He thinks he can cross our bridge without permission." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some frowned, others exchanged skeptical looks. Ethan stood, slow and deliberate, his jacket hiding the folded deed. He waited until the crowd quieted, then asked in a calm, steady voice, "Your bridge? Are you sure about that?" The silence that followed was electric. Even Linda's confident stance wavered. The air felt thick, as though the lake itself was holding its breath, waiting for his next move. Ethan stepped forward, his boots crunching softly against the dirt. All eyes were on him as he pulled a folded paper from his jacket pocket. The crowd leaned closer. "This," he began, his voice even and measured, "is the original county deed. Recorded in 1965. It clearly states, bridge parcel, ownership retained by the Marshall family. Gasps spread through the neighbors. Linda's smirk faltered. She recovered quickly, tossing her hair back. Anyone can wave around old papers. This community is managed by the HOA now. Your so-called deed doesn't matter. Ethan unfolded the paper fully, letting the county seal catch the light. It matters when it's still valid. The county registry confirms it. This bridge has never been, and will never be, part of your association. The murmurs grew louder. Some residents glanced at each other, doubt flickering in their eyes. Linda's voice rose, desperate now. Even if it's yours, you can't ignore our rules. The HOA has no authority here, Ethan cut in firmly. Your fines, your threats, your signs. They're meaningless. Every letter you've sent me is evidence. And if you keep pushing, it won't be me answering to you. It'll be you answering to the county. The crowd erupted into whispers and gasps. Linda's face turned red, her composure slipping. Ethan folded the deed again, sliding it back into his pocket. His gaze locked on hers. Unflinching, the bridge is mine. And nothing you do will change that. The neighbors had seen the truth now. But Linda wasn't done yet. Days later, Ethan returned to find the bridge chain shut, thick steel links padlocked across the rails. Neighbors gathered in disbelief, murmuring at the audacity. This is illegal, someone whispered. Ethan pulled out his phone. Then we'll let the sheriff decide. An hour later, deputies arrived. Linda stormed forward, waving a binder of HOA rules. This man is violating our community standards. He has no right to ignore our authority. The sheriff raised an eyebrow, scanning the deed Ethan calmly handed over. After a long pause, he shook his head. Ma'am, this is clear. The bridge is his. You've overstepped. Gasps spread through the crowd. Linda's protests turned shrill. You can't just ignore the HOA. The sheriff's tone hardened. Remove these chains, or we'll remove them for you. The deputies clipped the locks. The chains crashed to the wooden planks with a heavy clang, echoing through the valley. The sound wasn't just steel breaking, it was Linda's authority cracking in front of everyone. Neighbors exchanged wide-eyed looks. Some whispered, she's gone too far this time. Others shook their heads, finally seeing through the facade of power she had worn for years. Ethan stood silently, hands in his pockets, letting the moment speak for itself, but he knew pride like Linda's didn't surrender easily. A storm was still brewing. A week later, another meeting was called. Tension thickened the air as neighbors filled the chairs, eager to witness the fallout. Linda stood at the front, voice trembling but still defiant. This man is exploiting a loophole. If we let him ignore the HOA, chaos will follow. No one will respect our rules. Murmurs filled the air, but now, fewer voices sounded supportive. The sheriff's verdict had shifted the tide. People were questioning her leadership. Ethan rose, steady and calm. This isn't about chaos. It's about control. My family's bridge has never been part of your HOA, no matter how loudly you insist. If you keep pushing, the county will investigate you, not me. The neighbors leaned in. Whispers growing louder. Some nodded, some clapped softly. Linda's face flushed. You'll regret this, she snapped. Ethan's reply was sharp, yet calm. No, Linda. You'll regret crossing my bridge. The crowd chuckled, the tension breaking into laughter. Applause followed, echoing by the lake. For the first time, Linda looked small, her authority shrinking under the weight of truth, but Ethan knew pride doesn't fade quietly. Something told him the final twist was yet to come. The twist arrived in an envelope. This time, not from the HOA, but from the county. Ethan opened it slowly, heart steady. Inside was a notice. The HOA had been fined for unlawful obstruction and misuse of authority. Word spread like wildfire. Neighbors gathered at the bridge, buzzing with relief. Some smiled, others shook their heads in disbelief. And Linda? She was gone. Rumors whispered she had resigned under pressure, her empire crumbling in silence. Ethan leaned on the wooden rails, watching the sun dance on the lake. He hadn't wanted war. All he wanted was respect for the truth that his family's bridge was his, and always would be. Now, the bridge no longer divided the community. It united them. Neighbors approached, voices soft with gratitude. "You gave us our voice back," one said. Another added, "You stood up when no one else could." Ethan smiled, calm and humble. The battle was over. The bridge stood firm, stronger than ever, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you loved the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.